For the information of the uh, plenary, we are resuming our suspended session from last Friday. We are requesting Sheikh Ibrahim
Recording
Ali
in progress.
to lead us in the invocation. Ay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. يا رب لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك عظيم سلطانك. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا ورسولا. اللهم وفقنا لإقامة الإسلام. اللهم وفقنا لإقامة دولة الإسلام يا الله يا رحمن. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والحمد لله.
I was informed, the chair is informed that the committee is still in the process of collating the proposed amendments. They're asking for more time before we formally deliberate on the amendment. So we will suspend
Mr. Speaker,
until they are ready for
Mr.
their
Presiding.
presentation.
Mr. Presiding Officer,
Session resumes. The floor leader, where are we now?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Mr. Speaker, we are now in the period of interpellations, amendment. And for that, Mr. Speaker, may we again recognize the chair of the Committee on Local Government to sponsor the bill for its amendments.
The chair of the Committee on Local Government is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, we are ready with the proposed amendments submitted by our fellow MPs, and we will discuss them one by one. But at the outset, I would like to make general statements regarding the proposed amendments, Mr. Speaker, so that we don't have to take up all the proposed amendments that have similar tenor or similar language. So these are actually proposed amendments that are related to style. I will make an enumeration, Mr. Speaker. So number one is when the bill refers to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, we shall write down the whole name, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and then add or BARM, BARMM, and then use the acronym of BARM thereafter, so that the rest of the bill will then have use the acronym. And then when referring to laws, we shall use at the outset Republic Act spelled out, and then say or put in parentheses R, the letter R, period, A period, and then number for the first use of this phrase, and then subsequently use RA number. That would be for national laws. For regional laws, the laws that have been passed by the Bangsamoro Parliament, we shall use the phrase Bangsamoro Autonomy Act, and then put the number, and then thereafter we shall use the acronym of BAA, Mr. Speaker. And then for laws passed by ARMM, Regional Legislative Assembly, we shall write down Muslim Mindanao Autonomy Act, and then parentheses MAA, MMAA, close parentheses, for the first time, and put the number, and then subsequently just use the acronym of MMAA number. And then when referring to ministries or other offices, we shall use the full name followed by the acronym in parentheses, and subsequently use the acronym only. When referring to regional agencies, we uniformly use Bangsamoro ministries, offices, and or agencies as appropriate. And then when we refer to local positions, we shall use common noun, meaning we will not use capital letters for the start of the word. And then when referring to sanggunians, we shall also use common nouns and not capitalize the first letter. We have a format for provisos where the last phrase will end with a colon, and then we put provided that, and then continue. All references to the commission, the COMELEC, shall be we shall use the Commission on Elections and then use the acronym, but we shall also use, when appropriate, through the Bangsamoro Electoral Office or BEO, and use the acronyms subsequently. For gender pronouns, we shall use he or she or his or her. So we shall make an omnibus amendment to all masculine pronouns to include the feminine pronoun. And then for mayor and vice mayor, we will not use hyphen in between the two words. For chairman, we will use a gender neutral word, either chairperson or chair. And then when we refer to numbers, we shall write down the words and then the figures, Mr. Chair. So that those who have submitted proposed amendments containing any of those that I have mentioned, we may not present them anymore, so that it's an omnibus amendment for all these proposals, all of them relating to style, Mr. Speaker. But for the substance, we will now ask the Secretariat to flash the proposed amendments for Book 1. And I would like to ask Mr. Speaker that we recognize Deputy Floor Leader Anna Tarhata Basman to make the presentation on the proposed amendments and the response of the committee.
Before I recognize the Deputy Floor Leader, were those discussions under the matter of style already proposed amendments which you are accepting already?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note.
And some may not be reflected here yet, but we will work on the final version to reflect the ones that I mentioned, Mr. Speaker.
Noted. The Deputy Floor Leader, MP Basman, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We begin, Mr. Speaker, with Book 1, Title 1, Chapter 1. With Section 1, there are 3 proposals to use the term government in favor of governance. As we've explained during the period of interpellations, Mr. Speaker, the preference is for governance by virtue of its wider scope in terms of its definition. So we do not accept the proposed amendments by MPs Matalam, Mastura, Ampatuan, and Nabiltan. Deputy Speaker Nabiltan.
Secretariat, take note. The committee rejects the proposed amendment. Just list all of those proposed amendments with which have been rejected by the committee.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Before I go to Section 2, just also to note that since this is a lengthy legislation or measure, we're only raising or reflecting in this presentation those provisions that have suggested amendments. So we're not reflecting all of the language. So under Section 2, there's a proposal coming from the Deputy Speaker Hatimil Hassan to insert the words "and self-governance" next to the word "local autonomy" in its paragraph A. We accept the proposed amendment.
Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note.
On the next, Mr. Speaker, still under the same section, Section 2, paragraph C, there are a few proposals from MP Mawalil. It is to insert the word periodic between mandatory and public, and to insert the phrase "and during its implementation whenever the need arises," as reflected in on the screen. There is a proposal, the second one from MP Ampatuan, for the rewording of the same paragraph to read as follows. It is likewise a policy of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region that ministries, offices, and agencies or government-owned or controlled corporations shall conduct public consultations with appropriate local government units, non-governmental and people's organizations, and other concerned sectors of the community before the implementation of their programs and projects in the localities. Mr. Speaker, our counter proposal. So we do not accept the two proposals. Our counter proposal is to amend the paragraph to read as follows. It is likewise a policy of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region for regional ministries, offices, and agencies to conduct periodic public consultations with appropriate local government units, non-governmental and people's organizations, and other concerned sectors of the community in relation to any project or program for implementation in their respective jurisdictions. For this purpose, existing and future regional mechanisms such as the Bangsamoro Economic and Development Council shall be optimized.
Mr. Speaker, just
Yes,
one point, Mr. Speaker.
the lady from Maguindanao.
Mr.
Can
Speaker,
we
can also be recognized.
can we remove the word regional, Mr. Speaker? Regional ministries.
We are not, we don't object to that, Mr. Speaker. Only regional.
The word regional only.
Hindi kasama yung ministries.
Only the regional.
So you agree on the counter proposal? Secretariat, take note.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The next paragraph, Mr. Speaker, there are again a few proposals. First, coming from MP Matalam to delete the word constituent. From MP Mawalil to add the word periodic. From MP Ampatuan to delete the word mandatory. Mr. Speaker, we offer a counter proposal to read as follows. Finally, programs and projects funded by the national government as well as national policies and standards for implementation in constituent local government units of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region shall be governed by policies on mandatory consultation and coordination with the Bangsamoro government, subject to any prior or subsequent agreement in the Intergovernmental Relations Body in accordance with RA number 11054, otherwise known as the Organic Law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao.
Any comment on the counter proposal?
Mr. Speaker, wala.
MP Jetlim?
Mr. Speaker, just by way of manifestation, I have also proposal in section 1, although this is already moved in academic because they have already rejected the proposal. I propose for the change of name to Bangsamoro Local Government Code, similar to the proposals made by MPs Ampatuan, Jumbo, and MP Tan. May I request that it will be also reflected in the
Secretariat, take note.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you.
Speaker, apologies for that oversight.
Thank you, ma'am.
The provision at hand, is there any comment? The counter proposal of the committee? There being, I think the counter proposal will prevail.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Moving on to the paragraph letter E of the same section. There is a proposal coming from MP Matalam to delete MILG and in its favor, replace the same with Chief Minister or the Chief Minister through the MILG. And there's another proposal coming from MP Ismail to reword the first part of the paragraph to read as follows. The BARM with respect to constituent provinces, independent component cities, and highly urbanized cities, provinces with respect to component cities and municipalities, and the cities and municipalities with respect to component barangays shall ensure that the acts of their constituent units are within the scope of their prescribed powers and functions. Mr. Speaker, for the proposal of MP Matalam, we do not accept. For the proposal of MP Ismail, we accept.
Secretariat, take note.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Yeah, what is the point of order of the gentleman from Sulu?
The Deputy Speaker Nabil Tan, sir.
Yes, the gentleman from Sulu, you are recognized.
Thank you. Yun lang, yung tanong ko lang, yung nagpro-propose ng amendments, accepted or rejected, what if you also agree, other members of the Parliament agree with the proposed amendment? Wala bang determination na kung ilan ang share ng the same proposal or the same idea?
We take note of your point of order, MP Nabil Tan, but I think after we determine the position of the committee as far as the rejected and accepted, we will go back to asking the proponents whether they insist on their proposed amendments, and if they insist on their proposed amendments, we will divide the house. We will divide the house.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Maliwanag po.
The committee, can you proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before that, or I can ask the plenary if you want to immediately divide the house per provision. That would be up to you on the floor. But I think we should finish everything and then go back to those substantive issues that will be discussed again later.
Mr. Speaker.
Contentious issues.
Mr. Speaker.
What is the pleasure of the gentleman from Pagalungan?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Based on your manifestation, Mr. Speaker, pwede ba tayo bumalik doon sa title, Mr. Speaker? Because we have amendments on that, Mr. Speaker, and we would like to divide the House, Mr. Speaker, on Section 1, Mr. Speaker, or of our amendments.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's very important, and I think I don't know. I'm giving you the time to discuss on this matter. Maybe you would need more time.
Mr. Speaker, can
Because
I ask
if we
for a
vote
minute
now, that would be
suspension?
final. 1 minute suspension. the point of order raised by the gentleman from Sulu, the plenary now agrees that we will vote on the proposed amendment as far as Section 1 is concerned. Only Section 1. Later we will see, we will decide on matters if we will vote depending on the connectivity of link and linkages of provision, so that it will not be, we will not we will not cause any confusion as far as the provisions are concerned.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Presiding Officer.
Yes, you're welcome. Now,
Mr.
can somebody move to divide the House as far as the proposed amendments on Section 1?
There's already a pending motion by MP Matalam, Mr. Speaker.
I'd like to reiterate, Mr. Speaker, my motion to divide the House on for Section 1, Mr. Speaker.
John.
There is now, what is that, gentleman from Sulu? You cannot disturb the voting.
I second the motion to divide the House.
Natin to put one matter of Article 10 of the Constitution, which mandated the passage of the local government code, very clearly specify a local government code because it speaks the intergovernmental mechanisms between levels of government. The matter of capacity and governance process is local governance. But what is contemplated with the Constitution is the intergovernmental relationships between the tiers of government. So that is just a point that we have to consider before we vote. And in the bowl, it was explicitly mentioned that it should be the local government code because nothing in the Constitution allow us to provide for a governance code because it speaks of policy, it speaks of system. Thank you, Mr.
There is a pending motion to divide the House. It has been seconded. The motion is approved. Those who are in favor of the proposed amendment on Section 1, raise your right hand. Proposed amendment. In favor of the proposed amendment.
Yes.
Eddie Ali, yes.
Makatanong, yes. Ano? Again.
Mr. Speaker, can we be clarified as to the proposal, the matter that you are voting on, Mr. Speaker? It's a point of order, Mr. Speaker. I do not wish to
Yes,
interrupt the voting.
What is your point of order?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, just to clarify, the question is if the proposed amendment is acceptable. So ang pinagbobotohan po natin kapag yes ay kung papalitan siya into government. So pag yes, government.
Yeah.
Pag no, governance. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Joanna.
Mr. Speaker, yung buto ko, no?
We will repeat.
Speaker, I
We will
would like to
repeat.
correct my
So that it will be clearer. Those who are in favor of using the term government, raise your hands.
Hindi ko.
Paano ito lang? Paano ko balik ko lang?
Recording stopped.
In the Zoom, please raise your hand. Those who are in favor of the term government.
Yes, sir.
No.
Eddie Ali, no.
Tawakal Mintimbang, no.
Eddie Ali, no.
Nabil Tan, yes.
Matanong, no.
MP Piang, no.
Mr. Speaker. Gatlim, yes.
Speaker,
Speaker.
no, no.
Mr. Speaker.
Nabil Tan, yes.
Mr. Speaker, MP Tawakal Mintimbang, no.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, MP Long, you cannot disturb counting, the voting.
Yeah, my vote is no.
We will ask you later.
That's why فرقة كولومبية الأوقيتي إسقاط تستوي معركة صاد وقيامة آفرين إسقاط بقابلية تقرير فوق العبارة در مسافات دور محلات دشمن دارد.
Secretariat?
Ayusin niya yung grupo niya din.
Yeah. Those who are not in favor, those who are in favor of the word governance, raise your hands.
Saan ba yun?
Governance.
Governance, raise your hand, please.
Governance yan.
Eddie Ali, governance, yes.
Basit Abbas, governance.
Tawakal Mintimbang, governance.
Nag-raise naman ako ng
Eddie Ali po, governance.
MP Tawakal Mintimbang, governance.
Mr. Speaker.
Abdul Karim, Mr. Arif.
Nag-amendment tayo. Ha? Okay lang. Boto lang tayo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Technical working group tungkol siguro sa preference o sa meron na kung sabi ko walang qualified yan lawyer kailangan.
Sige.
Sige yan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker. Yes, sir. No.
This is where we are staying in Kabul. Let's do this.
Nawakan ng speaker doon.
Ikaw ang
Sorry.
ikaw ang technical group, Papa DS. Tinawagan ka ni speaker,
Secretariat, please report on the voting.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, here's the result of the votations on amendments of the title. For those who favor the proposed amendment, we have 14. For those not in favor of the amendment, we have 30. Mr. Speaker, 14 have it, which is 30 have it, which is not favored to the amendment.
30 no votes, 3 abstain. The amendment is rejected. Yeah, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you go back to paragraph G of section 2. Yan. So for this provision, for this paragraph, Mr. Speaker, we have a few proposals coming from first MP Matalam to insert the word Bangsamoro before autonomous region, from Deputy Speaker Alamia, similar to that of MP Matalam, but to add the words in Muslim Mindanao thereafter. On this matter first, Mr. Speaker, we accept the proposed language of MP Matalam.
Yeah, the amendment has been accepted. Take note, Secretariat.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, in the same paragraph, the proposal coming from MP Ismail is to delete the words planning and we accept that proposal, Mr. Speaker.
The amendment of the proposed amendment coming from MP Ismail is accepted. Take note, Secretariat.
Mr. Speaker, for the next paragraph, letter H, there is a proposal from MP Matalam to amend the same by adding the phrase subject to applicable law and existing rules and regulations. We accept the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Proposed amendment of MP Matalam is accepted. Take note, Secretariat.
Mr. Speaker, in section 5, there is a proposal coming from both MP Alamia and MP Ampatuan to reinstate the paragraph found in 7160, reading as follows: rights and obligations existing on the date of effectivity of this code and arising out of contracts or any other source of prestation involving a local government unit shall be governed by the original terms and conditions of said contracts or the law in force at the time such rights were vested. We accept that, Mr. Speaker, but with additional language, provided that the same is not contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, or public policy. So we accept with amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note, the amendment is accepted with
Modification.
modification.
Mr. Speaker, we go to Chapter 2, Section 6, Authority to Create Local Government Units. There is a proposal coming from MP Don Loong to replace the phrase local government unit with municipality or barangay and to rearrange the last phrase to read as follows: directly affected political units. There is also, we do not accept the proposal, Mr. Speaker.
The proposed amendment of the MP Don Loong is not accepted.
Mr. Speaker, on the same matter, MP Matalam proposes to insert the phrase to be conducted. We accept the proposed amendment.
The proposed amendment of MP Matalam is accepted.
Mr. Speaker, the second paragraph of the same section, a proposed amendment coming from MP Ampatuan to replace the word provide with provision. It's not provision, it's province pala. Yes, province or city. We accept the proposed amendment.
Secretariat, the proposed amendment of MP Ampatuan is accepted. Take note.
Mr. Speaker, in Section 7, MP Ismail to replace the words Lands Management Bureau to relevant office. We accept that, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note.
In Section 9, Mr. Speaker, abolition of local government units. The proposed amendment is to insert the phrase as the case may be. We accept that, Mr. Speaker. And to insert the word within. We accept that, Mr. Speaker. So both proposals are accepted.
The proposed amendment of MP Matalam is accepted. Take note, Secretariat.
Mr. Speaker, for Section 10, this has been mentioned by MP Raisa, the insertion of the term Bangsamoro Electoral Office of the COMELEC is a proposed amendment MP Suharto Ismail.
Mr. Speaker.
We accept that proposal, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. Balikan ko lang, Mr. Speaker.
Who is that?
Nabil Tan, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman is recognized.
Yung earlier, yung barangay or municipality, yung abolition.
The gentleman from Sulu is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yun lang, balikan lang natin yung earlier approve yung kasi may merge, may merger ang dulo eh. Di ba ang title dapat abolition or merger? Yung kanina, hello? Kasi may merge. Narinig po ako, hindi. Naririnig po ako, hindi.
Bakit? Ano kan?
Dapat talaga mag...
Yung kanina, yung abolition ng barangay.
Yes, what is...
Section 9, ang last word is merge. Hindi ba dapat sa title abolition or merger? Hindi na. May word kasi merge eh.
No, this is just, I think this is specific only to abolition.
Abolition. Di tanggalin yung word merge. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, may I be allowed to interject lang?
Yes. What is the interjection of the gentleman from Sultan Kudarat?
Yes, I noticed that some of my proposals were not reflected as an amendment. Although in the first instance with regard to the changing of the title, it was reflected. On Section 6, actually, I made a proposal to amend and restore the original wording of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, with the exception that internal revenue allotment is changed to national tax allotment. In that Bangsamoro Organic Law, it provides the Parliament may create, divide, merge, abolish, or substantially alter boundaries of municipalities or barangays in accordance with a law enacted by the Parliament. The municipalities or barangays created, divided, merged, or whose boundaries are substantially altered shall be entitled to their appropriate share in the national taxes or national tax allotment, provided that it shall be approved by a majority of the votes cast in a plebiscite in the political units directly affected. Then it continues to when such actions require the creation of a legislative district, the Bangsamoro government shall cooperate and coordinate with the national government through the Philippine Congress Bangsamoro Parliament Forum to prioritize the deliberations on the creation of a legislative district. Nothing in this organic law shall be construed to allow the Bangsamoro government to create legislative districts. This is in Article 6, Section 10 of the BOL. So this was my proposal in lieu of that Section 6 authority, but it was not reflected by the Secretariat. So I'm moving that this provision or my proposal be voted upon and to divide the House. For me, I want to restore what is there in the BOL. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will be watching closely again for the Secretariat for my proposals. For example, I propose some proposals where am I asking the deletion of that provision and to restore provisions in RA 7160. I would like that to be reflected because this is very unfair for us. We labored through the night to work. Ako, I was sick working on this. But I made efforts that I will be able to submit, and it's not even reflected as an amendment. So that's quite unfair for the effort that I have done to at least contribute. I only have 15 amendments, Mr. Speaker, and most of them are deleting and restoring. But they have also language proposals for some amendments. But for me, this is very important that our right to propose those amendments be reflected rather than the Secretariat making a decision not to include. If there were a matrix, it would have been better. But in any case, I'm calling for a vote for my proposal to follow the BOL provision on the authority to create.
Mr. Speaker, before ruling on that, we'd just like to manifest that we apologize to the good gentleman. It was mere inadvertence. We received a copy of the proposals a few hours before the start of the session. We have noted the others, and I hope this goes for everybody, that if there are proposed amendments that are not reflected on the board, we hope for your kind understanding, and it's not intentional, Mr. Speaker, just for the record.
Yes, take note, Secretariat. We have to be a little diligent and circumspect on our work.
Speaker.
So,
Mr. Speaker.
what is the 1 minute suspension? We will consider the manifestation of an interjection of the gentleman from Sultan Kudarat as a motion to divide the House. We will therefore, is there any second to the motion? It has been seconded. Hearing no objection, we will divide the House as far as Section 6 is concerned. 1 minute suspension. The presiding chair is withdrawing the ruling. We will wait whether or not the committee accepts or rejects the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Sultan Kudarat.
Mr. Chair, our colleague requesting that my proposed amendment be flashed because they said we have not been able to read that, and I was just
the Secretariat is directed to flash on the screen the proposed amendment.
But that's the BOL provision.
Session is suspended for 1 minute. Session resumes. Is the proponent ready with the text of his proposed amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I asked that the Secretariat flash it. So I just added a few phrases, and then thanks to MP Attorney Rice Jury for suggesting it, because I failed to consider that a barangay can also be created by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. So I just copied the previous provision, inserted it in the BOL provision. So in the second paragraph, it will say there that in the case of a municipality or barangay, their creation may be passed by Sangguniang Panlalawigan or the Sangguniang Panlunsod concerned in the case of a barangay located within its territorial jurisdiction. I think there's just a mistake there. I don't think the Sangguniang Panlalawigan can create a municipality. So we remove the municipality. Can you just reflect the removal of may be passed by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan in an ordinance for the purpose. In the case of barangay, their creation may be passed by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan by ordinance for that purpose. Or the Sangguniang Panlunsod concerned in the case of a barangay located within its territorial jurisdiction. Or the Sangguniang Panlunsod concerned in the case through an ordinance concerned in the okay. So it will read in the case of a barangay, their creation may be passed by the Sangguniang may created. I think the term is created, may be created by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan by ordinance for that purpose, or the Sangguniang Panlunsod concerned through an ordinance in the case of a barangay located within its territorial jurisdiction. If you want to be more precise, we can include the term, the proper term would be can suggest. May I just yield the floor to Attorney Jo Lorena because she says it needs more clarity.
Yes, I think the suggestion is we use the direct phraseology. It says that the Sangguniang Panlalawigan may also create a barangay within its territorial jurisdiction. So if you want to connect both the Sangguniang Panlalawigan and Panlunsod, the wording would be the Sangguniang Panlalawigan can create barangays within its jurisdiction, and the Sangguniang Panlunsod can also create barangays within the jurisdiction of the city. So it's just that. May by ordinance, the Sangguniang Panlalawigan may by ordinance create a barangay within its territorial jurisdiction, and the Sangguniang Panlunsod may also create a barangay within the city.
Mr. Speaker, may I request for a minute suspension?
1 minute suspension. Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker, after a discussion with the proponent, MP Attorney Ana Basman and MP Attorney Raisa Jujuri, I have agreed to their counter proposal for a more elegant language because the original language was a bit awkward. So aside from Attorney Jo Lorena, MP Attorney Jo Lorena, there was a counter proposal from MP Attorney Ana Basman, and I have accepted. And it is now reflected there, Mr. Speaker, the language that was proposed. So my motion accordingly is to revert back to the BOL language in the creation of LGUs with the colatilia that the counter proposal or the modification from the proponent be included in the language of the BOL.
You are withdrawing your motion to divide the House.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. After the discussion with the proponent, of course, you will have to accept the changes. It came from her. There's no more need to divide the House.
There is now the proponent has withdrawn his motion, and with the colatilia that the BOL provision be retained, and with the modification as proposed by the committee. Is that the position now of the proponent of the amendment?
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about Section 6 on the authority to create local government units, and upon conferring with the good gentleman, we have come to an agreement to use the language as reflected on the screen. We accept the primary use of the language of the BOL with some modification.
Okay, the motion is withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker,
The counter proposal of the committee with the concurrent modification is accepted.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note.
Mr. Speaker, I believe we were in Section 9, if you can go back to it, abolition of local government units.
That has already been ruled upon already.
Mr. Speaker, can we go back, Mr. Speaker, first to Section 6? Can we go to the last paragraph? Mr. Speaker, I think we can do away with the last paragraph. It is not relevant anymore. It's not a local government unit. Legislative districts are not local government units. So that is what we accept up to
You did not accept that
yes,
last
Mr.
paragraph. Secretariat, take note.
So there was a compromise.
Provision yan, ano? May separate provision yan. Sige. I agree, Mr. Speaker. There's a separate provision for that accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, that provision is deleted.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask for 1 minute suspension again?
1 minute suspension. Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker, if we may go back again to section 9. Unfortunately, we, upon review, before that, the one before that, sa taas. We wish to revert to the use of the word with instead of within. So we accept as the case may be, but we do not accept within.
New issue here.
Nothing. Use of the correct preposition.
Okay. I think we will go back to, we will go back to the matter raised by the gentleman from Sulu. Because of the word incorporated or merge, the title should also reflect the word merge or merger.
We don't oppose that, Mr. Speaker, but can we do that as a matter of style?
We can go back. We can go back later, maybe when there will be a formal proposal as to the amendment of the title of this provision.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat, Mr. Speaker.
May we request the gentleman from Sulu to make the concurrent formal proposal to amend the title of Section 9?
Abolition or merger of local government units. Tapos. Yun lang po.
There is a proposal. We will take that as a motion.
No, it's a proposed amendment.
Yeah, it's a proposed amendment. What is the pleasure of the committee on this matter?
Mr. Speaker, just to distinguish this from the earlier enumeration of actions in relation to local government units, this one pertains to one action with a concomitant consequence. So it's abolition led to the incorporation or merger to another LGU. So I think the simple matter of adding or merger does not capture that. So maybe abolition
or incorporation.
Can we propose abolition of local government units, semicolon, merger,
incorporation,
or incorporation?
I have no problem with that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if that's the case, we accept the
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment is, with modification, is accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding.
Merger or incorporation.
Yung merger or incorporation is the mode. The result is the abolition. Nakaano pala ako?
The gentleman from Sulu, MP Lorena, is raising his hand. We will recognize him.
Mr. Speaker may also be recognized.
Thank you. I just want to be clarified because merger and incorporation may have two meanings. Incorporation of barangays, for example, to a municipality can be incorporation. But when you talk of merger of two separate political units, that's merger. So are you assuming that when we talk of incorporation, even the incorporation of two separate political units into one, it is still incorporation? That's just a point of clarification that I want to address.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Of course, we can also use the term incorporation in its general conception, considering the context is a local governance code. But however, Mr. Speaker, maybe just to also distinguish, baka it will be better to use the word absorbed.
Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized?
Mr.
Yeah,
Speaker,
take
you
note,
may-
we are no longer in the period of interpellation and debate. We are just making an elaboration as to the meaning of the words being used here.
Very clearly, Mr. Speaker, just a suggestion para
You are recognized.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. My idea is just we just copy what's written in the local government code, because in either case, whether there's a incorporation or merger, the result is the abolition of a particular local government unit. So the incorporation or merger is the mode, and the result is the abolition. That's why the title of the provision is abolition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just hindi ata ako narinig.
1 minute suspension again, Mr.
1 minute suspension.
Mr. Speaker, we have a change in the language. If it can be reflected by the Secretariat. Section 9, abolition and merger of local
The deputy floor leader has the floor.
abolition and merger of local government units.
To that, Mr. Speaker.
And then, can we delete the semicolon and merger or incorporation? And then at the And then sa baba po, sought to be abolished will be merged. With which the local government units sought to be abolished will be merged. So can we delete incorporated and or? May B pa rin. Yung incorporated and or lang.
I agree.
So Mr. Speaker,
I agree
Mr.
to
Speaker,
the
the language will read as follows. Section 9, abolition and merger of local government units. The law or ordinance, as the case may be, abolishing a constituent local government unit shall specify the municipality or barangay with which the local government unit sought to be abolished will be merged.
I agree to the proposed amendments to the amendments.
The proposed amendment to the amendment is accepted by both proponents. Secretariat, take note.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We go to the next. There. Yes. Same section. A proposal coming from MP Ampatuan to add the words as the case may be. The other proposed amendments are matters of style. So we accept, Mr. Speaker.
The proposed amendment of the lady from Maguindano is accepted. Secretariat, take note.
Mr. Speaker, we go to the next section on plebiscite. We've accepted the first one. The second one is to add the words or ordinance in both instances after the word law. We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note. The proposed amendment in section 10 is accepted.
Mr. Speaker, just to note that the final language for this section will be a combination of all our accepted proposed amendments. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, to section...
Before you proceed, can you go back to section 10? Plebiscite requirement without S. Is that without S? Section 10, is that without S?
Saan yung F? I mean, where?
The title
Oh, singular.
requirement.
Singular, Mr. Speaker.
Come again?
It should be in the
Singular.
singular. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note.
In section 11, Mr. Speaker, the proposal is to replace, coming from MP Ampatuan, the word considered with taken into account. We accept the proposed language.
Secretariat, take note. The proposed amendment is accepted.
Mr. Speaker, the proposal coming from MP Mawalil in this section is to delete the phrase which qualifies the authority to change the seat of government. The phrase is more than once every 20 years and without authorization from the Office of the Chief Minister through the MILG. We do not accept the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note. The committee does not accept the proposed amendment of MP Mawalil.
Mr. Speaker, in section 13, there is a proposal to delete the phrase Bangsamoro Parliament or the we do not accept the proposed amendment.
I can see the hands of the gentleman from Lumbayanagi. What is your concern?
I would just
Lumbabayabo, I'm sorry.
request to divide the House, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. You are recognized.
I'm requesting to divide the House on that matter, Mr.
To divide
Speaker.
the House.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. There is a motion from the gentleman from
13.
from Lanao del Sur to divide the House as far as section 13 is concerned.
Mr. Speaker, can we read the whole section? Can it be plus? First part lang eh.
Document of devolution.
Yes, Secretary. Before I proceed with the ruling. May we give them the opportunity to read the whole section? Secretariat, please flash on
Dalawa.
screen.
Dalawang ang proposal.
13. Oh, kasi ang third lang pero lahat pinakatanggal ko lang yung Parliament kasi hindi ka resolution law sa Parliament Bangsamoro Parliament kasi resolution document to so yun wala na may natapos na din sa interpretation
1 minute suspension. There is a pending motion on the floor to divide the House as far as the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Lumba Bayabao. Is there any second to the motion? It's been seconded. There being no objection, the motion is approved. The proposition, the voting will touch on the proposed amendment of MP Mitmug. I hope everybody has read the proposal. Those who are in favor of the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Lumba Bayabao, which is to delete the phrase Bangsamoro Parliament or the. Raise your right hand. Those who are in favor. In the Zoom, please, those who are in favor of the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Lumba Bayabao, raise your hands. Okay. Those who are not in favor of the proposed amendment, raise your right hands. In the Zoom, those who are not in favor, raise your hand.
Not in favor.
Not in favor, Eddie Ali.
Four. Secretariat, report on the voting.
Mr. Speaker, the result of votations on the amendments proposed by the Honorable Member of the Parliament, Attorney Rasul Mitmug, on Section 13. For those favoring the proposed amendment, we have 10. And for those who are not in favor of the proposed amendment, we have 31. Mr. Speaker, the 31 have it.
With 31 rejecting the proposed amendment and 10 in favor, the proposed amendment is rejected.
Lost. Proposed amendment is lost.
Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We move to the next item, a proposal coming from MP Don Doong to add to the enumeration airports and seaports. We do not accept the proposed amendment. As we were informed that this is a power not granted to LGUs, but it's actually exercised by the national government and, in our case, the regional government.
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment is not accepted.
For the additional item, Mr. Speaker, any other public place or building owned by the municipal government.
Can we see the upper part? Hindi ko makita yung sa taas. Madam Committee, yan. Pababa na po, pababa. I don't know the sense of this amendment.
That's naming.
By the Parliament?
Yes, and the Sangguniang.
Mr. Speaker, to clarify, this pertains to paragraph C5, municipal enumerating sangguniang panlunsod or bayan powers. So we accept the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
So this refers to letter C.
Yes, C,
Oh.
paragraph C5 of
Yeah.
the same section, Mr. Speaker, section 13.
Of the same section.
Yes.
So the proposed amendment is accepted. Secretariat, take note.
Mas klaro. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, in paragraph G of the same section, there is a proposal coming from MP Soharto Ismail to add the words "and Parliament" and pluralize the word "district." To clarify that the change of name shall be relayed relayed to the OCM, representatives of the legislative and parliamentary districts, and the Philippine Postal Corporation. We accept the proposed amendment.
Take note, the proposed amendment is accepted.
Mr. Speaker, in section 14, the proposal of MP Amir is to add the words "and to the Parliament" through the Speaker. We do not accept the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment has been rejected.
Mr. Speaker, another proposal of for the same section coming from MP Don Loong to add the words "of their respective LGU" at the end of the sentence. We accept the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment of MP Don Loong, section 14 has been accepted.
Mr. Speaker, in section 15, there is one amendment proposed by MP Matalam to insert the phrase "subject to the provisions of law creating the same or existing national law." Mr. Speaker, I think the proposed amendment is similar to the last phrase, so we do not accept the proposed amendment.
Secretariat, the proposed amendment has been rejected.
Mr. Speaker, in
Yeah. The gentleman from Dato Blasin, Swat Maguindanao is recognized. Taga Dato Blayan by consanguinity.
Mr. Speaker, I will withdraw my desire to speak because the matter was already explained to me by MP Basman. Thank you. It's just about the inconsistency of this written document that was given to us by the Secretariat. This was given to me just about 3 hours ago. This is entirely different from what is being presented in the PowerPoint. So this was explained And accordingly, this is no longer correct. That's I was confused because I was referring to this document, which was just given to me today. So this is no longer correct. Thank you.
I think it's still correct. However, what is being presented here are the matters that there are proposed amendments after the period of interpellation and debate.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We move to Section 17. There's a proposal coming from MP Clean Water. We have a counter proposal. It's not written there, but to accept, but to add the word management after population. So nutrition, population management, sanitation, access to adequate food, and then comma. Ay, hindi pala. After, wala po pala. Access to adequate food and clean water. Wala pong comma. We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Proposed amendment
Yes,
and
Mr.
with the modification.
Yes.
Secretariat, the proposed amendment of MP Sinulending has been accepted with modifications.
Mr. Speaker, we go to another paragraph in the same section, letter C. The proposal coming from MP Mitmog is to add the words which shall be released automatically in relation to national taxes. We do not accept the proposed amendment.
Request to divide the House, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion. The proposed amendment of the gentleman from Lumba Bayabao has been rejected, with the corresponding motion from the proponent that we divide the House. Is there any second to the motion of the gentleman?
Second.
It's been seconded. The motion is approved.
Mr.
We
Speaker,
will divide the
for
House.
record, may I know how many voters are participating? Just for the record. Thank you.
Currently on record, we are 17 today, 57 today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
59. Currently, we are now 59. Yeah, we will reflect those who did not vote as abstention. Those who are in favor of the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Lumba Bayabao, please raise your hands. Maybe there is a wisdom in the silence of MP Ramon Piang.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Are you in favor, MP Piang?
Itong sa ano, yung sa which shall be released automatically.
Those who are not in favor of the proposed amendment, raise your hands.
AD Ali, no.
say no.
No.
Secretariat, is there already a report?
No, no.
No.
Mr. Speaker, the result of votations of amendment of Section 17 by the Honorable Member of the Parliament, Attorney Rasul Mitmog. For those in favor of the amendment, we have 9 votes. For those not favoring the amendments, we have 28 votes. We have the 28 votes, have it, Mr. Speaker. 28. Abstain, pila.
I think it's still quorum, but the abstain should be counted.
Nabilang na abstain?
We would like to be clear with the votes of the abstain, Mr. Speaker.
So di pun boto abstain. I-minus mo na lang dun sa 59.
28 plus 9 equals minus 59 times
Minus
22.
How many abstained?
Mr. Speaker, we have 22 votes for abstention.
With how many yes votes?
For those who favor the amendments, we have 9. And for those not favoring the amendments, we have 28.
Mr. Speaker.
With 28 no votes and 9 yes votes and 22 abstentions, the proposed amendment has been rejected.
Mr. Speaker,
those who did not vote are considered abstentions.
Mr. Speaker, clarification.
Mr. Speaker.
That is the presumption there.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized?
Yeah.
I guess the essence of voting is to see the warm bodies who actually voted with either yes, no, or abstain. We want to see the warm bodies of the abstention votes.
And Mr. Speaker, may I be recognized? May I be recognized, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, MP Parcasio.
Mr. Speaker, I abstained from voting because I did not understand what was the issue. That's why I abstained, because, how can you vote if, for example, the position of Attorney Mitmog is written there as in red, which shall be released automatically. But we have to be able to know from him why did he place that amendment? Because we have to vote intelligently. And I would suggest that for every voting that we do on any issue, the proponent of the amendment to the amendment must be given a chance to explain so that we could vote intelligently. I am not voting for abstention, or I did not vote. Rather, I abstained because of that. I did not.
So when you do not vote, the effect is you abstained.
Yes, I abstained because I did not understand the issue.
The chair has made a ruling already.
Mr. Speaker,
we will proceed with the next session, with the next section.
Mr. Speaker, I have a request.
Just for clarification.
That, before we vote, we should give a chance to the proponent to explain so that we could vote intelligently, Mr. Speaker.
I think that would apply to substantive matters, not to matters of style.
Third Speaker, actually, I have an amendment also there. Again, it's not reflected. Actually, I am moving for the deletion of the second sentence. Any fund or resource available.
Mr. Speaker, it's in the last item. So
1
it's
minute
there.
suspension.
Mr. Speaker, actually it's already 5 o'clock and 5:30. And since the question of quorum is already at stake, I would like to request for a counting of the members here in the plenary and the Zoom.
There is a motion to determine the quorum. Any second? Has been seconded. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, the request was to count the members present physically and via Zoom. There was no motion for a roll call. So, bilangan lang.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Banon.
Mr. Speaker, paano yung walang picture dyan? Paano natin alam kung nandyan sila? Mr. Speaker, kailangan makita natin.
Mr. Speaker, to be definitive, we would like to request for a roll call so that it would be easy and be done with.
I'm here. Eddie Ali, present via Zoom.
We have already ruled on the matter. You did not move for a roll call a while ago. For a counting of those present lang.
Don't technical ah.
Resume lang tayo, resume lang.
Okay.
Ay.
Spelling ng polio na ano, sakit.
And learned to speak English, Malay, Arabic, French, and Mandarin fluently. She was curious about different cultures and traditions and respected diversity and harmony among people.
Always present.
O sino on yung kwan nila?
In September 2012, Princess Hafiza married Pengaran Haji Mohammed Ruzaini, a civil servant who worked at the Prime Minister's office. The wedding was a spectacular affair that lasted for more than a week and attracted thousands of guests, including foreign dignitaries and celebrities.
Tinamaan yung nagtitiktok.
AI na TikTok video.
Hello,
AI
sino
yun.
yan? Liza?
Yes, hello.
You, Liza.
We now have 51. Secretariat report.
Mr. Speaker, on the very latest counting of the attendees, we have physical 36. In the Zoom, we have 15. So a total of 51, Mr. Speaker.
So is there any further question on the quorum?
Yeah.
There being none, we proceed with the next in the proposed amendment.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, on the same section and paragraph, a proposal coming from MP Matalam to reword the first part of the paragraph as follows. The basic services and facilities herein above enumerated shall be funded primarily from the share of the constituent local government units in the proceeds of national taxes and other local revenues. Funding support from the Bangsamoro government, its instrumentalities, and GOCC tasked by law to establish and maintain such services or facilities may supplement these funds when necessary. We accept the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment of MP Matalam is accepted.
Mr. Speaker, a third proposed amendment on this same paragraph comes from MP Mastura. The proposal is to delete the first part of the paragraph.
Mr. Speaker, it's not the first part actually. I am asking to delete yung second sentence, yung nagbabasa na any fund or resource available for the use of the local government units shall be first allocated So ang objection ko diyan, first allocated lahat ng pondo diyan sa devolved powers and functions. So may argument kasi hinihingi ni MP Attorney Parcasia yung reasoning, madidilute yung fiscal autonomy ng local government kasi nilagay na ng parliament na una niyang pondohan yung devolved functions. So for me, it's a violation at saka parang surplusage na nga siya eh. Kasi anyway, sinabi na natin sa first sentence. Ang issue lang dito sa second sentence is yung first allocated. So parang sinabi na natin, priority siya, pero sa allocation naman, inano natin sila, pinakialaman natin yung pag-allocate niya. Pasa nila ng ordinance. Kailangan mandated sila na una nilang bigyan. Parang sinabi mo na rin yung education shall be the highest. In this case, hindi naman highest, pero yung allocation. So yun lang po ang reasoning ko. That's why pinapa-remove po yan as surplusage plus violation of the fiscal autonomy. And if it's not accepted, I'm also asking for a votation to divide the House.
Mr. Speaker, apologies for the inadvertence. We do not accept the proposed amendment.
The proposed amendment has been rejected with the concurrent motion to divide the House by the proponent.
Yes, Mr.
Any
Speaker.
second on the motion?
Second.
It's been seconded. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this is not an objection, but merely manifestation that the reason why we do not accept the amendment as just so that it's clear, since the gentleman has given the position that he holds, that it is because the position is that the reason why NTAs and additional funds are given to LGUs is because they need to fund the devolved functions to them. That is the reason, Mr. Speaker.
There is, it has been seconded. There being no objection, we will divide the House. Those who are in favor of the proposed amendment by the gentleman from Sultan Kudarat, raise your hands. In the Zoom, raise your hands. Those who are in favor of the proposed amendment. Okay. Those who are not in favor of the proposed amendment, raise your hands. In the Zoom, raise your hands if you're not in favor of the proposed amendment.
Eddie Ali, not in favor.
Rose, no.
MP Ismail, no.
Imagine being married to
No amendment.
despite being 34 years younger and accepting the role of a second. Alongside this, living in seeming, but suddenly everything changed. In a single moment, she lost it all. The opulence, the wealth, the title, and even her precious kid.
Naman maingay.
This realized measure happened at the start of her life.
Do you think so?
How did she manage?
Secretariat, those who did not vote, they are deemed abstained.
The wealthiest monarch of the world. Watch the polls and you'll find it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified as I upload a new video. Let's go on. Sultan Hassan Al-Awwal, the ruler of is one of the richest monarchs in the world, with an estimated
We have a report.
Mr. Speaker, the result of votations on amendment of the Honorable Member of the Parliament, Attorney Skak Mastura. For those favoring the amendment, we have 5. For those not favoring the amendment, we have 28. For abstention, 18, Mr. Speaker. So the no votes have it.
With 28 no votes, 5 yes votes, and 18 abstention, the proposed amendment of the gentleman from Sultan Kudarat is rejected.
Mr. Speaker, we move to the next paragraph of Section 18, paragraph D, whereby MP Mawalil proposes to add the words by local government units. We accept the proposed amendment.
Secretariat, take note, the proposed amendment of MP Mawalil has been accepted.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
Since we are counting the votes of the abstention, suppose the absent vote got the number, yet the majority, what will happen? If the abstention got the majority of the votes, what will happen to the amendment or no amendment? Because the abstention does not vote either for yes or no, what will happen to the provision of the law? If the abstention got the majority of the votes?
I think
Parliamentary inquiry.
yes. What is the pleasure of the floor leader?
Mr. Speaker, if I may offer an insight, I think I agree that abstentions are not counted as a vote. So it's just merely between the yes or the no, regardless of the number of those who voted for the abstention.
They are not counted as a vote.
Yes. So even if the majority of the vote goes to abstain, that doesn't dictate the result of the voting.
I think that should clarify the issue. If they don't vote, they abstain. What is now the pleasure of the proponent as far as Section 19 is concerned?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So we've accepted the Section 18 proposal of MP Mawalil. For the Section 18D proposal of MP Don Loong, which is to insert the words subject to such guidelines and limitations as the Congress may provide, we do not accept, Mr. Speaker.
Can you repeat?
We do not accept, Mr. Speaker, the proposed language of MP Don Loong to insert the word subject to such guidelines and limitations as the Congress may provide.
Secretariat, take note, the proposal of MP Don Loong has not been accepted.
Mr. Speaker, in Section 19, the proposal is to insert the words Lamitan City and in the title and Lamitan in the text, submitted by the Deputy Speaker Hassan. Considering that there is also already mention of the component cities and municipalities of Basilan, we do not accept the proposal.
You do not accept?
We do not accept, Mr. Speaker.
What is your explanation?
Mr. Speaker, the body already mentions the component city and municipalities of the province of Basilan. The devolution, the full devolution is exercised by Basilan.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Deputy Speaker Hassan.
I propose to change to add the word Lamitan City because of the fact that in Basilan we have two cities, Isabela City and Lamitan City. So therefore we have to specify that to distinguish that is the city within the autonomous region. Basilan has two component cities.
1 minute suspension. I-explain yun. Session resumed. The proponent and the chair of the committee has agreed to sleep on the proposed amendment. We will suspend the session until 8:30. Floor leader, what is your pleasure? 8:30?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Speaker Balindong has already signed a memorandum directing the resumption tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., Mr. Speaker.
Session is suspended until 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Speaker, pa-request